Saturdays. Thank goodness.
Okay. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I would like to call this meeting to order and welcome everybody to the September 11th, 2024 City of Henderson Board of Zoning Adjustment meeting. Sarah, may I get a roll call, please?
Mac Arnold,
Here.
Heather Knight,
Yes.
Rob Turney,
Here?
Landon Overfield,
Here.
Marcos Nicholas.
Thank you, Sarah. Mr. Davis, we have 4 cases tonight. Do you promise to tell the truth?
Do.
Thank you so much. Would you kick us off with Appeal 3525, please?
Yes. Proposed Appeal 3525 is submitted by Jared Stockwell for the property located at 1024 North Main Street. The applicant is requesting a 2.5-foot variance toward the rear property line to install a detached garage pursuant to Article 4, Section 4.24B, Appendix A zoning code, City of Henderson, Kentucky. This property is zoned R1. Notices were sent to surrounding neighbors. We have not received calls concerning this appeal. Setbacks typically for a detached garage are 3 feet from the property line, 10 foot from the primary structure. The variance worksheet states that there are special circumstances for this particular lot that make it different from other lots in the same zone. The shape or shallowness of the lot makes it impossible to meet the required setbacks and still maintain a reasonable building area. Strict application of the provisions of the zoning ordinance impose an unnecessary hardship on the applicant or deprive the applicant of reasonable use of the land. The lot was platted and built on prior to the adoption of the zoning ordinance. The existing structure does not meet the current setbacks, and the proposed addition is a reasonable and expected use of the property. Special circumstances they state in their worksheet are: 1, the granting of the variance will not affect public health, safety, or welfare in that it will only replace an existing building with a larger footprint extending into my own property. Number 2, the granting of the variance will not alter the essential character of the general vicinity in that it will match the overall aesthetic of the neighborhood. Number 3, the granting of the variance will not cause a hazard or nuisance to the public in that it will be within the bounds of the property and replace an existing building. Number 4, the granting of the variance will not allow an unreasonable circumvention of the zoning ordinance in that it will be built to code. Any water runoff will be directed toward the paved alley via gutter system. Staff has reviewed the request and submit the request for the board's consideration and action.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Does this board have any questions for Mr. Davis? Does this board have any questions for Mr. Davis? If not, will the applicant or applicant's representative please approach the podium? Please sign in with your name and address. Please state your name.
Jared Stockwell.
Mr. Stockwell, do you promise to tell the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Is there anything that you would like to add to Mr. Davis's testimony? Okay.
Everything was pretty much worded on the worksheet that they provided.
Pretty spot on.
Yeah.
Okay. Does the board have any questions for Mr. Stockwell? Does the board have any questions for Mr. Stockwell? Mr. Davis, the runoff, the gutter system, have you noted the gutter system to make sure that we're not going to be throwing water on any of the neighbors?
Well, he said in the report that he's going to direct it toward the alleyway.
Okay.
Typically, we'd like to see it on the property and dispersed within the property green space if possible, or be treated through the green space toward the alley.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Are
Yeah.
we, allowing it to go straight to the alley, is that acceptable under these circumstances?
I don't know if there's a whole lot of room back there to do a lot of other things.
Okay. Okay.
So they're going to be
It looks like there's limit,
6 inches from the property line.
The back property
Back
line.
prop-
It would
yeah.
probably be, the gutter system the runoff would probably be towards the front facing wall of the garage, which would be towards the alley, and we would have at least a 6-foot apron
okay.
for the water so it would still be
Is
runoff
that-
on our property.
Is that grass or is that paved?
The portion that it would run off on would be grass.
So it would be filtered.
Okay. It looks like you do not have a lot of green space on your property.
Right.
Okay. And this garage is replacing an existing garage. And I'm just reiterating what Mr. Davis says. You're replacing an existing garage, and you're not going any closer to the property line with the new garage. The build-out is pushing into your property. Is that correct?
Yes, while maintaining that 10-foot
Okay.
distance from the existing house.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Does this board have any additional questions for Mr. Stockwell? Any additional questions? If not, Mr. Stockwell, if you'd like to be seated, you may. Is there anybody here to speak for or against Appeal 3525? Anybody here to speak for or against Appeal 3525? If there is nobody here to speak for or against Appeal 3525, I'll close the open forum and ask for a motion.
Make a motion. I will try to make a motion. I move that we grant appeal number 3525 for a 2.5 rear yard setback variance on the east side of the lot. It is on the east side, isn't it?
Yes.
Of the lot in order to be allowed to construct and install a detached garage on the property located at 1024 North Main Street, which is currently zoned residential 1, with the following conditions. The new garage will not divert water runoff onto a neighboring property, nor will it alter the natural flow of water. The new garage will be built according to all building and zoning regulations of the city of Henderson, except for this variance. The evidence submitted through the written documents attached to the appeal and submitted through the testimony at the preceding hearing confirms, and we find, 1, the shape or shallowness of the lot makes it impossible to meet the required setbacks and still maintain a reasonable building area for a 2-car garage. 2, other residences in the area have similar detached garages. 3, the new garage will replace an existing garage with a slightly smaller footprint, and the continued intended use for the property is for residential purposes. Further, the aforementioned evidence presented shows the granting of this appeal will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare, as the improvement will be for a residential use consistent with the current use. It will not alter the essential character of the general vicinity, since the surrounding properties are also used for residential purposes. The same reason we find the variance will not cause a hazard or nuisance to the public and will not allow an unreasonable circumvention of the requirements of the zoning regulations for the same reasons, period.
Thank you. Is there any discussion among this board? Any discussion among this board? If there is no discussion, I'll ask for a vote. Sarah?
Mac,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Wayman.
Yes.
Mr. Stockwell, Appeal 3525 has been approved in your favor. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, you can get with Mr. Davis. Thank you so much.
Rob?
Yes.
Can I ask you a favor to move the next appeal to the bottom?
Yes. Yes.
Did you swear to?
Our next appeal, 3526, will be the final, we will not do 3526 in the order of which it numerically, we'll move it to the end of the evening. Therefore, we are going to move on to Appeal 3527. Mr. Davis, will you bring 3527 to our attention, please?
Sure. Lowe's Appeal 3527 is submitted by Denise Knipe for the property located at 2362 Cobblestone Drive. Applicant is requesting a 5-foot rear yard setback variance to allow placement of an outbuilding in the rear yard pursuant to Article 4, Section 4.24F, Appendix A zoning code, City of Henderson, Kentucky. This property is zoned R1. Notices were sent to surrounding neighbors. We have not received calls concerning this appeal. An outbuilding typically is required to be 10 feet from the principal structure, according to Article 4, Section 4.24F. The variance worksheet states that there are special circumstances for this particular lot that make it different from other lots in the same zone. Other special circumstances stated are, I plan to build a swimming pool in the backyard that would require me to move a 12 by 20, 250 square foot building, again, if not put or located at the location as outlined in this variance. Mr. strict application of the provisions of this zoning ordinances impose an unnecessary hardship on the applicant or deprive the applicant of reasonable use of the land, staying 3 feet away from the neighbor's existing fence, and also a mature tree restricting land use for a 12 by 20 portable building also creates an impossible usage of the land without moving major utilities if possible. Special circumstances they state in their worksheet are: 1, the granting of the variance will not affect public health, safety, or welfare in that there will be sufficient area around the home and building to maintain the yard and utilities and to allow public health and welfare to all who require it. Number 2, the granting of the variance will not alter the essential character of the general vicinity in that the building is a new, well-built building that is aesthetically pleasing with 2 doors and 2 windows. The building size is 12 by 20 with metal roof and siding. 3, the granting of the variance will not cause a hazard or nuisance to the public in that access to the home and the proposed building will be accessible for all public workers without hazard or nuisance due to proposed variance location. 4, the granting of the variance will not allow an unreasonable circumvention of the zoning ordinance in that the building will be 5 feet from the corner of my home to the corner of the proposed building, with access easily around my home and proposed building. Staff has reviewed the request and submit the request for the board's consideration and action.
Does this board have any questions for Mr. Davis? Any questions for Mr. Davis? If not, will the applicant or the applicant's representative for Appeal 3527 please approach the podium? Please sign in with your name and address. Please state your name.
My name's Albie Bruce Knight.
Mr. Knight, do you promise to tell the truth?
I do.
Thank you so much. Mr. Knight, the applicant was Denise Knight. I have to ask you this I have to ask this question of you
Sure.
just to get it on record.
Sure.
How do you represent
She's
Denise
my
Knight?
ex-wife.
Okay,
And I'm
thank
here
you.
helping her out so she can,
Thank you. When the names don't
but I
match,
also live there too.
okay, when the names don't match, I like to get it into
That's
record why.
Yeah.
But and like I say, this was obvious. Is there anything that you would like to add to Mr. Davis's testimony?
Well, first of all, I'm very pleased. Steve was very helpful, and we really had an issue there at our house or her house. She purchased this, Denise purchased this house a little 4 years ago. And at the time, we did not get a plat of all the easements in there. And we didn't really check into it till this building issue came up. Our backyard looks like a spider web of utilities. The only place we can basically put this building at that I can see without having to move a bunch of utilities or create a bunch of problems is where we have looked to put it. Denise has plans, not guaranteed, but has plans. She likes to put a pool out by it. And we'll have to deal with all those utilities then. But we didn't want to right now because this building is not a stationary, it's a portable building. And it's a nice, brand-new built building, and it's really about the only place she can put it without creating, I don't know what all other problems we would get into.
It looks like a small utility building. Will it have gutters or will it just have straight?
It has straight
Okay.
off right now. It's all tin.
Mm-hmm. Okay. With the distance between the building and the property line, do you anticipate any runoff going to your neighbor?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
We're looking at a 3-foot distance between the fence line, their fence line, and where the edge of the building is, and it's all grass there, so I fully expect, and then the topography runs toward the back of the property, south part toward the ditch.
Okay,
Yeah, you can, this part, excuse me, there's a ditch that runs right here.
okay,
And it's probably along this area, so I fully expect any water to come down into that ditch.
okay.
If it does become a problem, we'll put gutters on it if we have to, but I'd rather not do that unless we see I just don't see it being that big issue on a 12 to 20 building.
Okay. Does this board have any questions for Mr. Knipe?
Mr. Knipe, you're familiar with the neighborhood, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, are there other properties that have similar outbuilding placed on them?
Close by to.
Well, yes,
Yes, sir, there's buildings like that. I don't know if they're quite that size or not, but there's buildings all in the neighborhood.
but detached storage building.
Yes, yes. There's quite a few.
Any other questions for Mr. Knipe? If there are no questions for Mr. Knipe, if you like, you may be seated.
Okay.
Is there anybody here to speak for or against Appeal 3527? Anybody here to speak for or against Appeal 3527? If there's no one here to speak for or against Appeal 3527, I will close the open forum and ask for a motion, please. Oh, okay.
I move that we grant Appeal 3527 for a 5-foot variance to allow placement of an outbuilding closer to home and rear yard for the property located at 2362 Cobblestone Drive with the following conditions. Follow all building codes, and the building should be aesthetically pleasing to go with the home in the neighborhood. And the existing structure does not meet the current setbacks, and the proposed addition is a reasonable and expected use of the property. And that the evidence presented showed that the granting of this appeal will not adversely affect the public health and safety, welfare, and that there will be sufficient area around home and building to maintain and utilities to allow public health, safety, and welfare to all who require it. The granting of the variance will not alter the essential character of the general vicinity, and that the building is new, well-built building that is aesthetically pleasing with the 2 doors and 2 windows. Building size is 12 by 20 with a metal roof and siding. The granting of the variance will not cause a hazard or nuisance to the public, in that access to the home and proposed building will be accessible for all public workers without hazard or nuisance due to the proposed variance location. The granting of the variance will not allow an unreasonable circumvention of the zoning ordinance, and that the building will be 5 foot from the corner of my home to the corner of the proposed building with access easily around my home and the proposed building location.
Can I get a second? Thank you. Any discussion among this board? If there is no discussion, I'll ask for a vote.
Mac,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Landon.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Knipe, Appeal 3527 has been granted in your favor. If you have any questions, please get with Mr. Davis, and he'll clarify any of the motions for you.
We'd like to thank the board for their decision. We appreciate it very much.
Well,
Thank you. Thank you. And I do agree, he does a good job.
He does a good job.
He helps people very well.
Yeah, good man.
Mr. Davis, our next appeal, 3528, bring that to our
Rob?
attention. Yes, sir.
Mr. Stockwell, you don't, I mean, if y'all want to stay, I know this is riveting entertainment.
Feel free to leave,
If you're
yes.
through with yours, you can go ahead and leave.
We're gonna go eat supper, so we'll.
Yes. Have a good evening. Thank you. Mr. Davis, Appeal 3528, would you bring
Okay.
that to our attention, please?
Sure. Boza Appeal 3528 is submitted by Scott McCord for the property located at 601 West Main. Applicant is requesting a 30-foot front yard setback variance for a storage building contingent upon rezoning the property to M1 pursuant to Article 27, Schedule of Regulations, Schedule B, Appendix A, Zoning Code, City of Henderson. This property is zoned HIP. Notices were sent to surrounding neighbors. We have received calls concerning this appeal. The variance worksheet states that there are special circumstances for this particular lot that make it different from other lots in the same zone. The topography of the lot makes it impossible to meet the required setbacks and still maintain a reasonable building area on the lot. The shape or shallowness to the lot makes it impossible to meet the required setbacks and still maintain a reasonable building area. Strict application to the provisions of the zoning ordinances impose an unnecessary hardship on the applicant or deprive the applicant of reasonable use of the land. The lot narrows quite a bit in the back. Special circumstances, they state in their worksheet are, one, the granting of the variance will not affect public health, safety, or welfare in that it will be built to codes maintaining a 20-foot front yard setback off West Main Street. Number two, granting of the variance will not alter the essential character of the general vicinity in that it will be built to look like the building next to it on West Main. Number three, the granting of the variance will not cause a hazard or nuisance to the public in that all watershed will be contained on the property. Number four, the granting of the variance will not allow an unreasonable circumvention of the zoning ordinance in that the building will be for storage in a light industrial area if rezoning is approved. It will look like several other buildings in the area. The lot drops off and narrows quickly, limiting the buildable area. West Main Street is one of the few gravel streets left in the city of Henderson. It would be an appropriate location for this building. Staff has reviewed the request, recommend approval, and submit the request for the board's consideration and action.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis, this property or this building is 40 feet wide on a 50-foot wide piece of property, right? So we've got a very narrow piece of property overall, 50 feet.
Correct. And this is contingent upon it being rezoned by the planning commission to M1.
Mhm.
M1 does not have side yard setbacks like
Okay.
HIP district.
And our objective here tonight is, because we have nothing to say about whether it's M1 or not.
Correct.
Is our assumption that the M1 will be granted but
This'll be
is
contingent.
contingent
Yes.
upon that grant?
Yes.
This is condition, if they do not rezone it, this automatically.
Then it's automatically put to bed. And
Yep.
I just want to make that statement for everybody here and the board that that's the route that it will go.
Is there other M1 in that area?
Yes, the one right next door, there's a gravel lot behind it. I think that may be M1. And then I think the ag granary too.
Yes.
That's M1.
I've got a nod in the back. When we get him sworn in, we'll ask him that question.
Well, he
because
Look at me, so I was trying to help.
he seems
Oh,
very,
He lives there.
Okay.
He doesn't live there, but.
does this board have any additional questions for Mr. Davis? If not, will the applicant or applicant's representative for PL 3528 please approach the podium?
While he's getting up here, Steve, M1 is light industrial. isn't it?
Please sign in with your name and address.
Yes, sir. Okay, done.
Please state your name.
Scott McCord?
Mr. McCord, do you promise to tell the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Steve had made some statements about the neighboring property also being M1. Would you further define that?
That's
for
my
us?
property next to it. That's M1. We had it rezoned. There were three of them combined into one, consolidated into one, and it was rezoned 2 years ago, I believe. And I built another building on that. And I know the sand lot beside me is M1, and I know the granary is M1 as well. So we're all landlocked. It's all HIP right now. Not HIP, but my property that I rezoned next to it was HIP, and we rezoned it, and this one's HIP. We still don't know why they're HIP. It's been a thorn in our sides pretty much the whole time. But Steve's been very gracious and been a big help, for sure.
Would you, for my benefit, would you tell me what the acronym HIP means?
Henderson Innovative Plan.
Okay.
This is,
Okay. Does this board have any questions for Mr. McCord? Any questions for Mr.?
No, the one building he built next to it looks very nice. I lived across the street.
Oh, thank you very much.
Okay.
It did improve the aesthetics of that side of the road.
I'm trying to landlock the area to where we can bring it up a little bit. Obviously, it helps the city with taxes. Obviously, it just needs to be done. And what my goal is to build the new building, sell the front building up on that South Main Street one that I've got up front. I'm trying to work towards retirement. I don't need 3 buildings. I want 2 buildings, and then I can, the one up front on the road the road frontage will sell quick. And I've got people wearing me out about it, but I have to have another building built before I can get my equipment somewhere. So that's the dilemma I'm running into.
Any additional questions for Mr. McCord? If there are no questions, Mr. McCord, if you'd like to be seated, you may.
Okay.
Is there anybody here to speak for or against Appeal 3528? Anybody here to speak for or against Appeal 3528? If there is nobody here to speak for or against Appeal 3528, I will close the open forum and ask for a motion, please.
You go.
I can, if you want to.
Point.
I'll do it. Let me.
Okay.
I move we grant appeal number 3528 for a 30-foot front yard setback variance on the east side of the lot in order to be allowed to construct a storage building toward the front of the lot on the property located at 601 West Main Street, which is currently zoned Henderson Initiative Planning or Innovative Planning, with the following conditions. The property must be rezoned to light industrial. 2, the storage building will not divert water runoff onto neighboring property, nor will it alter the natural flow of water. 3, the storage building will be built according to all building and zoning regulations of the City of Henderson. Evidence submitted through the written documents attached to the appeal and submitted through the testimony at the preceding hearing confirms and we find, 1, the slope falling from the front to the rear and the narrowness of the lot makes it impossible to meet the required setbacks and still maintain a reasonable building area for a storage building. The improvements in the immediate area have similar detached buildings. The continued intended use of the property is for light industrial purposes similar to the uses in the immediate area. Further, the aforementioned evidence presented showed the granting of this appeal will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare, as improvement will be for use consistent with the use of the surrounding lots. It will not alter the essential character of the general vicinity, since the surrounding properties are mostly industrial. For the same reasons, we find the variance will not cause a hazard or a nuisance to the public and will not allow an unreasonable circumvention of the requirements of the zoning regulations.
Second?
Is there any discussion among this board on the motion? If not, I'll ask for a vote.
Mack,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Lehman.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. McCord, Appeal 3528 has been granted in your favor. Please don't engage it until you get to M1. So,
Building until I do that.
thank you so much. Any
Thank y'all very
questions?
much.
You know
Have a great
Steve.
evening.
Pardon me?
See you, Rick.
Okay.
I believe there's a problem with the appeal, and so may I take a recess? I need to go do some research on the appeal quickly before we come back in.
Which,
The Heritage, the,
3528.
3526.
26, okay.
So may we have a recess, please?
Okay. I would like to declare a recess for this board. How long of a recess would you like, Counselor?
Till she gets back.
Till you get back.
Yeah. Steve?
Yes.
You know, when we've had somebody not show up, we've always given them a phone call and an opportunity
Need a motion on that?
I'm going to ask one. I would like to call this meeting from recess to session. Do we need a motion on it? Okay. Can we get a motion to table Appeal 3526?
So moved.
Second?
Yes.
To the regular scheduled meeting.
Yes, it's probably gonna be altered, but
Do we need to say anything about, okay, we're just going to table it. May I get a vote
For table.
for tabling it?
Mac,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Lehman,
Yes.
The
Rob?
motion, yes. Motion 3526 has been tabled until
Who made
Until
the-
further
who made
notice,
the
yeah.
motion?
Brandon, and then I say.
Let me get back to,
So now,
minutes.
go. New business, not gonna go.
yeah.
No.
Then
On the, on our agenda, new business, ex parte communications training. Council has said that she would like to bump that to next meeting. That was something that I learned in training at a previous meeting. I would like to ask if there's any other business to come before this board. Ex parte
Okay,
communications.
I thought that's what you said.
And us discussing in recess could be considered ex
Yeah.
parte communications.
Yeah.
So, any other business to come before this board tonight? If not, I'll
Well,
ask for
there's the
approval. I'm
No.
sorry?
Oh, okay, sorry.
I'll ask for approval of the August 14, a motion to approve the August 14 minutes, please.
Make
So
a motion
moved.
to approve.
Second,
Second?
vote?
Mac,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Lehman.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay.
Um,
People taking office.
I've got a quick question for you.